Alright guys, so we are back in my garage for another video, and I am in a conundrum. I cannot decide what I want to do next, and I know it's a first world problem, but it's something that I've been thinking about for a while. And now that I'm driving home from the last track day of the year, obviously I have a lot more time to think about it. So I figured I'd bring you guys in on the conversation. Feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, suggestions, whatever you wish in the comments, and I'm open to hearing any feedback you guys have. But let's go ahead and talk about the current state of things and what my ideas are for the future, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. So my situation is that I've had the 340i for 2 years now, and the rule of thumb on YouTube is usually every 2 years or so, you want to switch cars. Whatever you're doing with the platform, work on it for a year, maybe 2 years. I think max is kind of 3 years, but that's pushing it. Before you switch to something else, start over, create some new fresh content. And that was kind of my idea when I got this car, which at this point, like I said, it's been 2 years. It'll be exactly 2 years next April. And so I've been trying to decide, what do I want to do next? Now, the reason why I'm struggling with this so much is because, as you guys should know, I bought this car from Copart. I bought it from a junkyard with the intent of just using it for testing and creating videos, and then I'd get rid of it and move on to the next car, no harm, no foul. Then I screwed up and started doing stuff I didn't plan. Then I screwed up and started liking it.
Taylor's oldest time.
And now I've been driving it to work, taking my family out, obviously doing track days with it. So I've gotten way more use out of it than I ever actually anticipated, making way more power than I thought I would. And at this point, it's probably what I consider to be like one of the best daily drivers. It works great in pretty much all scenarios. It's not too low, it's not too loud, it's reliable enough, consistent enough, makes plenty of power, and it's just fun. So that's why, number one reason why I'm stuck, because I anticipated I would be trying to sell the car this winter, put it back to mostly stock, and get rid of it. And now I'm not as motivated to do that. Another big thing, of course, is like I explained in my last video about my track day, there's so much room to improve just learning how to drive this car better, me as a driver, and being better at, just driving this car without doing any extra modifications or anything like that. And I'm really interested in trying to extract that out of this car. I left a lot of opportunity at NCM when my turbo was having issues, and then at Putnam not being on the right power map and having issues with, everything else, fuel cut and stuff. It just never allowed me to really get comfortable with the car and really figure out where that limit is. And so that's something that I'm interested in pursuing. My thoughts are, I don't necessarily want any more power, especially on ethanol. This car is around where I would consider a safe limit for the stock engine and stock transmission. Upgrading either one of those is a 5-figure investment that I'm not really interested in doing. So at this point, I really feel like it's at the sweet spot in terms of power and performance. But I would consider testing other parts, like maybe other turbos, maybe other fuel setups, maybe trying to run meth instead of ethanol, other things that you guys talk to me about and I have some experience and knowledge with, but nothing that I've done on the channel. So that's something that I've considered, especially now with this upgraded intake manifold. It would be relatively easy to plumb in port meth, see how that works, and just kind of mess around with different ideas there. So that's kind of my thoughts. Now, the other thing, of course, is the car can still get faster without upgrading the power. So I can do things like dropping weight, running lightweight wheels, stripping out the interior, and not really stripping it out, but, removing the seats, maybe running some lightweight bucket seats. I know a lot of you guys are curious, like, how much can I get out of this car without upgrading the engine and transmission? And those are kind of the next steps that we would need to do. Kevin goes on a diet, the car goes on a diet, and we try to figure out how far this platform can really be pushed on the stock engine and trans. So those are kind of my thoughts. If I keep this car, that's kind of the idea of what I would do. Continue with maintenance, you know, reliability upgrades, additional cooling and stuff like that, and then making the car lighter and just getting as much seat time as possible next year to see what it's truly capable of. Now, of course, on the other hand, getting into a new car is extremely enticing. It's extremely exciting to think about. One big thing, of course, is jumping into a platform that's blowing up would be a nice advantage, something that's a little bit newer, a little bit, you know, more innovation and stuff coming out. And of course, I want to be able to take advantage of creating content on these platforms while it's still relevant, because once they're, you know, 5 or 10 years old, people are going to pretty much have all the bugs figured out. There's just not going to be as much to create with cars on those platforms. So I want to be able to try things out before it becomes stale, basically, and everybody's already created content on it. So of course that puts me into which platform am I interested in, and personally I'm mostly interested in a B58 TU. I want a second gen B58. I want something different than this car, but that can fill the same space. So something that I can daily drive, take to the track, test parts out, you know, do all of that. Top 2 contenders, okay? First one, of course, A90 Supra. That should be no surprise to you guys. I've been talking about it for a while. I think the Supra has really enticed me. Although I would love to have a manual, I think getting an auto would be better for the channel, especially when I'm doing back-to-back testing for different things like brakes and horsepower and stuff like that. I want to be able to get really consistent times, and that's mostly an opportunity with the ZF. Whereas if I was driving a manual, one, it would be more expensive to upgrade, because as soon as you start tuning it, even on the stock turbo, you can mess up the clutch, which means you need to upgrade your clutch. A lot more work than I'm probably interested in doing on that platform versus just a transmission tune and sending it. The other thing is, you know, shift point, shift time, like everything else that can influence the performance of a car. I want to be able to, you know, optimize everything that I'm doing in my videos to be as consistent and accurate as possible. So that's why I got an auto in this car. That's most likely why the A90 would be an auto as well. So yeah, I think that would be a great car, especially for track duty, something that's lighter than this car, still rear wheel drive, much better driving dynamics, be able to run wider tires and stuff like that, a lot more upgrades for aero and things available for it that wouldn't, you know, impact the value of the car as much. Like most people on those platforms would be interested in things like that, whereas on this platform I've pretty much completely avoided doing aero mods. If I did a big wing and stuff, a lot of people with 340s aren't really interested in that. So, you know, that's something to consider if I wanted to push it and get farther down the line of creating a car for the track. The A90 just seems like a better fit. Now the other option that I've been considering is a G20, getting an M340i. And the benefit here is most of you guys have an M340i, so it's very applicable to you. A lot of the upgrades that you guys ask me about is asking about M340i's, or people that had 340s before upgraded to M340s and now they're looking for new fresh content on how to build their cars. So lots of opportunity there. And of course it does a better job of filling the need that this car met, because it has 4 doors, it has 4 seats, I can drive it year round, I can throw stuff in the trunk, especially for a track day. Like I've got all my tires and stuff in the trunk right now. I can't do that in a Supra. That's not going to work. So it's really more of a question of what's more practical and convenient as a daily driver and a track car and something to test with. It seems like the M340i is better, but the Supra, it's just like, come on, man. Come on. I mean, look at it. It's amazing. And of course, at this track day, there was a guy with one that's black on black, and he's driving laps around everybody, and all it did was give me even more ideas on what I could be doing if I jumped into the A90 platform. So, you know, that's definitely an idea. Of course, the last one, and probably the one that's the farthest away, is getting into an S58, simply because of the price. You know, I don't hate the S58 cars like some people might believe, although I do plenty of trolling and comments and stuff about B58 versus S58. In reality, I know the S58 cars are great. I would love to have an M2, but they're just really expensive, and you can't really find them used for cheap because they're still relatively new. There aren't really a lot of them out there, at least in my area, so the prices are still pretty high. We'll see kind of as hopefully prices continue to cool down through the remainder of the year, but that's the least likely option, but one that I would probably most likely jump into if it became feasible. So yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are here. You know, do you really like the 340? Are there more things you want to see me test on here? Like I said, this is the whole purpose of the car, so I don't mind changing parts just for the sake of changing parts. Obviously, some of these tests that I've done, it takes me hours to try things that I have no intent of keeping on the car or doing in the real world, just to show you what the difference is and help answer those questions that you have. So is this the platform that you want to see that on, or do you want to see that on a new platform? Do you think there's something else entirely different that I'm missing that would be even better for the channel? I want to create videos for the channel. I don't feel like, oh, it's just a clout build or something like that. I need something that I can test parts on, create DIYs, and create the content that I enjoy without messing on my 440 for another 5 years or whatever. So again, thank you guys for sticking around for so long. I know this is a first world problem, but I'm open to any other ideas that you have. And yeah, I think that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.